We absolutely love what we do. If you like what we do, why not buy us a coffee? Just follow the link in the description below.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be, and welcome to the MMA Shower, sponsored by Hatton James Legal. That's hattonjameslegal.co.uk for all your employment law needs. In this month's episode, we'll preview UFC 320. That's UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. And we'll preview the top 3 fights on the card as well. The show is sponsored by Hatton James Legal. The podcast would not be possible without our friends at SRB Media. That's srbmedia.co.uk. They've got a range of sporting podcasts, and it would not be possible without them. So thank you for producing the podcast. To contact the show, you can at the Twitter handle is the MMA Shower, and you can email the show at the MMAshow7@gmail.com, the MMAshow7@gmail.com. Hopefully we may have time for fan questions. I think we've got one this month, but if not, we'll carry that on to the next month. We won't have a discussion topic in this month's podcast because we had a few technical difficulties and personnel difficulties, but that's all good. Moving right on to my co-host. So it's Diamond from London. How you doing, Diamond?
Yeah, good, G. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good to have you here and get your view on UFC 320.
Yeah, it looks a good card, to be fair. So definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I agree. We could have probably done about previewed five fights, but yeah, it's certainly a stacked card. And Josh, the Wonder Kid, how are you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, G. Good to be back on the podcast. Hopefully we can get into some seemingly entertaining fights, like you were saying, stacked cards. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, nice one. Okay. Yeah, so we've got 2 title fights on this one. We've got Merab versus Corey Sandhagen, which is a bantamweight fight. I think bantamweight is 135. Is that correct? 135 pounds.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so that's just under 10 stone, 9 stone, 8 pounds, something like that for the British audience, and it's about 66 kilos, 68 kilos for the European audience. So we've got that as the co-main event, and that's a title fight, and then we've got the light heavyweight at 205, which is a rematch, and Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. Interesting. That should be very interesting from a tactical point of view. And we've got Ajiri, who's coming back as the light heavyweight, coming back on the scene after his loss, versus Carly Roundtree Jr. So maybe that could be a title contention fight. I've not heard anything officially, but so we'll start with Ajiri versus Carly. So Josh, I'll go to you first. First, I made the point this could be a contender fight. Maybe the winner gets the belt. What do you think on that first, before you get into the styles and matchups?
Well, styles and matchups aside, I think, like you said, it will be. I think it has all the ingredients to be a big fight. I mean, both fighters are entertaining, and both been in the past of being on the end of some great knockouts and delivered some great knockouts themselves. So hopefully we'll be going for a finish, but with MMA math, you never know. Probably will end up going to a decision.
Diamond, do you think it's I've not heard anything officially, so maybe it is. Is it a title fight? Winner gets a shot?
I think, they're two very good fighters. Yuri's had a couple of title shots already. He's come up short each time. But yeah, I think Roundtree, to be fair, he's had some decent. Well, he had a decent victory last time out, didn't he? So yeah, I think this could possibly be an eliminator, because you got to ask yourself who else is there in terms of who deserves a shot in regards to the actual belt. So yeah, I think it could potentially be an eliminator, but I think it's going to be a good fight either way.
Yeah, and I think the other clue is it's on the same card. It's not the co-main event, but it's the one after that or before that. So yeah, winner of that watches the title fight, and potentially, if they know already, they'll be thinking, oh yeah, I want so and so to win, because we know that styles make fights, and some fighters will prefer a certain style of a fighter than others. So Josh, back to you, Jiri and Carly. So do you just give us a fighting style matchup from your perspective?
I think it'll be an interesting one. Obviously, Roundtree is known for his stand-up, but particularly his use of Muay Thai. You see, he sort of translated it to work in MMA, and it's not a case of worrying about takedowns, because he seems to sort of be really effective with his striking, especially his low kicks and his quite a narrow stance. Hips quite narrow for MMA, but he still manages to make it work. And he's obviously been in some heavy scraps with some top fighters. Obviously, he had a big slugfest with Pereira before he got finished.
So when you say quite a narrow stance, Josh, does that make it potentially easier to be taken down because you're not spreading your base?
Yeah, of course. That's obviously that's the basis of the superficial basis of comparison of stances with Muay Thai MMA. But I think what he's done after that Johnny Walker fight, when he got knocked out brutally, sort of dialed in with his Muay Thai, got really solid, went to Thailand for a while, and he sort of made it a few minor adjustments to the traditional Muay Thai stance to make it sort of work for MMA. And you've seen in a lot of his recent fights, he's fought some brawlers, especially going back to that Jamal Hill fight, someone who I wouldn't say he's a high level wrestler, but someone who's capable of taking people down. Obviously, he's been in and around the high level contenders, and he sort of had a field day with him. Despite any sort of issues with takedowns or what have you, he sort of blasted the living daylights out of him, especially with those low kicks. And then you got Pereira.
Yeah,
quite old.
That's a good point, Josh, about stance. Just want to just to elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah, of course.
I think there was a couple of, I can't remember, karate comes to mind, like Shotokan, that's very wide, iron horse stance. Theoretically, in MMA, that would make it, especially from maybe a double leg, potentially a single leg, hard to take down. But the problem is, if your left leg is planted in that stance, your left leg is planted solid, someone could just kick your leg off for a round, and you've lost your base and you're hopping around. So that's what you mean by balance. If you come from a traditional martial art, you've got to adapt it to MMA.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, sorry, you were saying Jiri. Yeah, you were going into Jiri.
Oh yeah, and then Pereira, I think he's always been a sort of a firework sort of fighter. He's really unorthodox. He's got some wicked techniques. Obviously, he's quite popular in the MMA community because he's quite unorthodox. Obviously, quite a strange bloke. Obviously, with this whole samurai arc and what have you. But there's no denying that he's a wicked fighter and he's got amazing skills. So I think this fight should be teeing up for potentially fight of the night, like you were saying earlier, G.
Yeah. Good points, Josh. Diamond.
Yeah, I think Yuri. I'm a fan of his, to be fair. I think, like Josh was saying, I think he's unorthodox, but he's very unpredictable, and that's what I like about him. He's got some unique attacks, and he reminds me of G. You remember? Obviously, you do remember Shogun.
Oh yeah.
Because what they used to say about Shogun was that he under chaos. So he's got a unique style where he's unpredictable. However, he's very calm within that, so that puts the opponent off. Yeah. They used to always say that about Shogun. During chaos, he is very calm, and that's where he performs. So he does have elements of Shogun from what I remember. He's not quite Shogun, but yeah,
I know what you
know
mean.
what I mean.
Yeah.
definitely got.
And Shogun had he could finish a fight in one kick and one punch, couldn't he? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shogun was like we spoke about before. Their camp, that shooter boxing
Shooter
camp.
box. Yeah.
That was a crazy camp. You had Vanderlei coming from there. Anderson was part of that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was a massive stable, killers. But
Yeah,
I think Shogun became either the boss of that camp recently, maybe 8-10 years ago, like main man.
Oh,
The reason
okay.
why I know that is because when there was, I think it was Sao Paulo versus, I don't know, another Brazilian team, and there was like hooligans fighting. And one of them, or one of the hooligans, maybe a few, they were from Shooter Box. They used to train there. And Shogun kicked them out. He said, "We don't want hooligans here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
So
That's
he had that martial arts spirit as well.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did. But yeah, so Yuri, yeah, definitely, he reminds me a little bit of that. I think he's very good in chaotic situations, and I think he's very good at counter striking as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting. But on the other side, you've got Roundtree, and like Josh was saying, he's very powerful, and he's got very good technique. I think he's more patient, and I think he's going to come with a strategy. So I think it's going to be who can win in terms of styles. Really, I think they're going to come with different styles, and we'll see who comes out the best.
Okay, since you're the resident bookmaker, Diamond Power, what have you got any odds on this?
Yeah, I do. Let me just find it. So Roundtree is going to be 11-8, and Yuri's 7-4 on. So it's not too bad. It's not vastly different, but yeah, I mean, in comparison to some of the fights, anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely Yuri's a lot more of a favourite than I would have thought. Put it that way.
So who's your money on your diamonds? I know you bet in diamonds.
But I think so. Like I was saying, I think Roundtree is going to try and pick apart Yuri. I think he's going to be a lot more patient. I think he's going to have a strategy about him. I think Yuri's going to come in with obviously his classic unorthodox style, and he's going to. I think that might throw Roundtree off, to be honest. And it's just about whether he can deal with that. But I'm going for Yuri. I'm a big fan of his. You got to look at his record. He doesn't really lose to many fighters apart from Pereira and their title fights. And other than that, he doesn't really lose. So, yeah, I'm backing Yuri.
Josh, where are you going to put your hard-earned apprenticeship money on?
If I had, I'll probably leave this fight, to be honest. I'd probably take the over on rounds as opposed to the outright winner, because I think...
is it too close to call?
Yeah, and I think given that we were saying earlier where they've both sort of got big hands and capable of throwing big shots, I think bookmakers will potentially think it won't go the distance, and I've got a feeling it could potentially go 3 rounds or 5 if it's a co-main, but I don't think it is.
It's 3 rounds, yeah. It's not a co-main, yeah.
So who do you think, Josh? If you have to stick your neck out, who do you think?
I'd go with. I think I'd go Roundtree based on. I prefer him as a cleaner, more technical fighter as opposed to maybe a bit more of an erratic fighter like Yuri. But there's no denying that all it takes is one crazy spinning elbow or one sort of unorthodox front kick to the face or what have you, and Yuri can easily come away with a potential knockout. So you never know with him.
Yeah, okay, good. So I haven't got nothing else to add in terms, you've said, the fighting styles and things like that, but I'm thinking, obviously I've got no evidence to back this up, but apart from the last fight of Jiri, which is not really evidence, I think he could be on the way down, because that shoulder injury was a very deep injury in terms of the physical structure of your body, you know, the whole shoulder mechanism to go like that, because you got your shoulder, you got your collarbone, you've got your 3 heads of your deltoids, and that's a lot of damage, and your rotator cuff and all the infrastructure around your shoulder joint has gone. He came back, because obviously he's an athlete, and they have the best medical care, and they probably get the best drugs. I mean, drugs as in legal drugs, not any other drugs, PEDs. But I think that's too much at this level, and he lost when he came back, and he was quite devastating. So I think I'm going to go for Roundtree. Not much logic to that, just a bit of a feeling, really. Okay, so we've got Josh. You said Roundtree as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think either way, it's going to be a great fight, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that, definitely.
Yeah, should be a really good fight technically, and hopefully some kind of finish as well. Okay, we're going on now to the co-main event, which is a bantamweight title fight. It's Merab from Georgia versus Sandhagen from United States of America. Josh, I'll go to you this time first. Just give us a breakdown of the fighters and sort of keys to winning or anything like that.
I think I said it before in previous podcasts when we talked about Sandhagen, but he's one of my sort of favourite MMA fighters just from a technical standpoint. I think he's really crisp. I think he's really fundamentally sound. I don't think he's got a great ability, but I don't think he's particularly flash. I think he relies on the fundamentals a lot. He's very, very crisp with his boxing. His striking's very good. He's got very good takedown defense.
He seems very wiry as well, very strong.
Yes, he is. He has got that sort of red herring, even despite the fact that he's not got much mass on him. And obviously, he's a skinny bloke.
Yeah,
he's more than capable of holding his own, which is what he would need to do against someone like Merab. And despite the fact that he is fundamentally that sound, and he's got such a great jab and great boxing from MMA, I think he might come up short here, because you look at sort of Merab, what he's done, he sort of ran through the division. You look how much Sandhagen's almost struggled against Nurmagomedov, Umar, and then Merab sort of came in and more or less dominated for 5 rounds against him. So my heart would say Sandhagen, but I think my head has to go with Merab here in this case.
Is that because of the style of Merab?
Yeah, I think he's too complete. I don't really like the guy, if I'm honest. He's funny, but he's a bit of a. Seems a bit like a bit of an a-hole, to be honest. But despite that, I think you can't deny how good he is as an all-round MMA fighter. He's very complete. I don't think you can name many more fighters who have more of an all-rounded skill set and are elite in more than one category. But obviously, the main attribute is that wrestling. We've seen in the past, Sandhagen, despite all his sort of his acumen in takedown defense and his sound fundamentals, it's not always enough against the top level wrestlers, and I think Merab comes into that category.
Yeah, good point. Diamond?
Yeah, I think Umar dominated him, didn't he? He absolutely dominated Sandhagen. I mean, Merab won the fight against Umar. Umar obviously claims that he had an injury or whatever, and it was a lot more competitive. And yeah, I can only see Merab, I'll be honest with you. I think how it will go, but I think obviously Merab, he got his wrestling, he's got his cardio. His cardio is just unbelievable, isn't it? He's relentless.
Yeah.
His condition is second to none. He just tires opponents. I think, the pace will be too much for Sandhagen. I think his physicality, he's a strong guy, isn't he? And his wrestling is very good. And I think he'll overwhelm, and that's what he does. He overwhelms opponents, doesn't he? But on the flip side, what I would say about Sandhagen is, like Josh said, he's technically a very good striker, and you can if he catches him, and you don't know.
So was the other guy, curly hair guy. So was Mali. He was probably a better striker than Sandhagen.
He's a bit of a wally. Mali, a bit of a
He's a bit of a O'Malley man.
But more
But
naturally talented, I would say.
Yeah. As much as Sandhagen, he does have good ground defense, and he can fight. I just see Merab, to be honest with you, and I think that's what the bookmakers would say as well. So I think Merab is 4-1.
Oh, hang on! Don't do the odds yet. Let me say my piece. Whoa.
There you go. Forgot you were there. I apologise, G.
So Merab, I'm not adding anything new. Obviously, everyone knows his wrestling, the sambo, and he has got, like Josh said, you can call him a complete fighter. He can stand up to a decent stand-up fighter. Not for all 5 rounds, for surely not. But yeah, the wrestling of and people talk about Dagestan and occasionally Chechnya, but mainly Dagestan. But you got to remember they are still part of Russia. Georgia's not, but Dagestan is. But they were all part of the Soviet Union up until 30 years ago. So that, for love them or hate them, I mean the communist system, they built in very good apparatus for wrestling and sports, Olympics in general. So these satellite states, as they were, like Georgia and Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan and places like that, they benefited from having these almost sort of fanatical systems of sports, and in those regions it was wrestling and other combat sports as well. So yeah, that their kind of wrestling is different to the American college wrestling, which is okay. It's good for takedowns and defense, but when these guys do it, because they're probably mixing sambo and they learn probably some jiu-jitsu, but mainly on the wrestling front, they can submit you as well and control you better than American wrestlers, where it's a point system. You pin someone and game over. So Merab is you can go on to the odds now, Dana.
Oh yeah, just from what you say, in the USSR back in the day, obviously that was all one, wasn't it? And
Soviet Union,
they dominate in regards to that. But just a quick question, just on that before we go on. Obviously, Russian fighters, like you said about Georgia and whatever, you can count that as well, I suppose. But why, and in Dagestani fighters, why are they dominating so much at the moment in the UFC?
Well, my theory is that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or grappling, if you want to call it that, is generic term, sort of proved that if there was a fight and you could get someone to the ground, you could finish the fight. But then obviously other fighters learned Jiu-Jitsu and other grappling arts and takedown defense and stuff like that. So that nullified that. But what these guys are doing, they're incorporating the wrestling part. Remember, Jiu-Jitsu guys initially, they couldn't really take anyone down. If there was a really good wrestler, he could keep it standing up. I mean, the way Royce Gracie used to take someone down was just rush them, scramble, and then down. There was no real technique to that. Well, I don't think so. It was like a false kick and then up again, especially if the person didn't know how to defend someone trying to take you down. But these guys, they worked out how to take someone down, so they'll do something like chain wrestling, single leg, double leg, single leg, trip. I think Sambo's got to take some credit because that starts to go into submissions as well. And if you notice how, especially the Dagestani wrestlers, I'm not too familiar with Merab's wrestling, but they really hook the legs with their legs, so your strength from your hips to get up is nullified. So it's based on that kind of level of wrestling with submissions and control.
They're just strong, because I mean, obviously you've got Topuria as well, and obviously he's a striker, isn't he? Or he's very powerful in regards to that. And then what I'm trying to say is they're just strong generally, aren't they? They're just absolutely beasts. It's mad. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Not,
what do you think? What do you think, Josh?
I think it's a strange one. I personally think it's down to discipline, if I'm being honest. I think we're just different level. I've heard people speak about it before, but literally all they do is train back 2-3 times a day, pray, eat, and that's it. They don't really have lives. I think that's the thing people miss. They live and breathe the sport. Even if they are a bit manky buggers, and don't clean the mats in the gym and what have you, and things I've seen in the past. But that aside, I think they're just a different beast, to be honest. I mean, I'm not their biggest fans whatsoever, but they just seem to have another gear on everyone in terms of work ethic and in terms of performance and their sort of commitment, if you like, to the sport. They just seem so focused and so single-minded onto being the best. And you look at what Islam Makhachev is going to achieve, and he sort of symbolises that. You don't see the guy doing much media stuff. You don't see him out and about at photo shoots and all that nonsense. He's just literally in the gym, smashing out 2-3 sessions a day, eating, training and whatever, and then that's it. And then he shows up on a Saturday night. It's all that matters.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, discipline.
The other thing I was going to say, like I said to you, I don't want a lawsuit against you, G, but do you think at a very young age they get given something or another, and that gives them a stepping stone? I'm not saying it myself. I'm just saying, do you think that there's a possibility of that?
Oh, so you want me to indict myself? You're not saying it, but you want me to say it.
Oh, I think there might be drug cheats possibly as well. But,
I don't know. I think.
Let's be honest. Do you think they get given at a young age? Do they get given?
Well,
say, yeah,
if you believe the old Soviet system, that was like part of having breakfast and lunch and dinner. So whether that's carried over, possibly. Yeah, who knows? We don't know. But I think it's a lot more of its discipline and the style of fighting they've got. It's very hard to combat. And it's
let's be honest,
proving
in
that.
MMA, especially the early days, they're not going to be the only ones. So, there's plenty of fighters. As Charles Sonnen has said, he says there's so many fighters that are juiced up, including John Jones. Again, that's from Charles Sonnen.
And you remember what Nate Diaz said when he was doing a press conference versus Conor McGregor? They're all on drugs, the whole UFC.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So I mean, so it's not just it's just not just aimed at them. So if even if they are doing it, I think the majority of fighters are doing it. I mean, they even said about GSP. They said that's why he left. That's why he went out the back door
because they bought in drug testing WADA or whatever it was, USADA.
Anyway, it's back to the odds. Saying so Merab is 4-1 on, and Sandhagen I believe is 11-4. So he's heavy favourite.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. And judging by our sort of predictions, it sort of matches that kind of odds, really. Okay, we're going to come on to the main event, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. Yeah, we know their styles, so we're not going to focus too much on the styles, but I'll go to Diamond this time. It might be obvious, it might not, but just give us your opinion. What does Pereira need to do differently?
I think that's the thing, really. From the first fight, you would have thought that Ankalaev I would have thought he would have been wrestled Pereira. Pereira would have been struggling, and that's how he would have won. But it wasn't quite that, was it? I mean, yeah, Ankalaev showed he was very confident on his feet, and I think that's going to be a bit disheartening, to be honest with you, for Pereira, because he's going to think to himself, hang on, if I can't beat him at my strongest game, how am I going to beat him? So
it might psych him out a bit.
Yeah, so from a mental point of view, I don't know, it might be a bit tough for Pereira, but again, he's a very good striker. He's a big power puncher, and yeah, you just have to look at some of the knockouts he's done. Me personally, I don't rate Pereira that highly. I think he gets tagged a lot. I think, and obviously he relies on his power and whatever else. But at the same time, you have to look at what he's achieved, and he's achieved quite a lot. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Josh, do you think Ankalaev should do more wrestling, try to take him down, not stand up like he did in the first fight?
If he wants the best chance of winning, I'd say yeah, because the longer you stay on the feet with Pereira, regardless of how the momentum's going, whether it's in your favour or his, he's going to find a way to punish you. Whether or not that's knocking you out, whether or not that's just inflicting damage. We saw in the Roundtree fight, even though the momentum wasn't always with him, and there was spells where Roundtree was having a bit of joy, all it takes for Pereira to gather that 2-3 seconds of momentum, land a nice little three-piece in the pocket, and it's not the thing with him. He's so technically crisp, and in those little gloves, he's so good. And just teeing off, it's not always about the power shots with him, and people lose sight of that. I think the fact that he's a great knockout artist and what have you, but it's look at that Roundtree fight being a prime example. It is beautiful to watch how he just sort of pressures his opponents with his size. Whether he can do it with Ankalaev is different, but you saw in the Roundtree fight, he just literally was just almost teeing off beautifully in the pocket, wasn't taking any damage, not just putting 40-50% on those shots, and he was just inflicting so much damage. You saw Roundtree's face afterwards, absolutely mashed up. I don't even think Pereira was using 60-70% power, so if he could gather that momentum against Ankalaev, I think it's curtains for him.
Yeah, but Josh, from the first fight, I mean, do you think that's going to play on his mind? Do you think mentally that will play on his mind?
We don't know the guys, but I think Pereira doesn't strike me as someone who sort of doubts himself regardless of the result. I mean, obviously, he's capable of being the best guy. You saw it with Izzy. Multiple times in Glory, and then obviously here in the UFC, and then you saw it when he fought. He got to fight obviously Roundtree before. He beat. Who else did he beat?
Pereira, Yuri.
Yeah, Prohashka.
Obviously, Adesanya.
He beat Prohashka. He beat Izzy. He beat. I'm sure he defended the belt against someone else. Jamal Hill wasn't that big of a fight, to be honest. But
Blachowicz.
He beat Blachowicz. Yep, Blachowicz. That was a good fight. So
that was to get the belt, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, when he
and that was before he fought Izzy, I want to say. Was it maybe it was after?
It was after he moved up to 205.
No, but now.
Yeah, he moved up the weight. That's right. Izzy fought Blachowicz obviously before and came up short. But it's the weight thing with him. I mean, it's just crazy. He walks around at like 90-something kilo, 100 kilo or something, daft like that. So, it's not a case of him being bullied from strength standpoint. It's whether or not he's technically good enough to neutralise that wrestling and sort of take down defence and, utilising sort of underhooks and proper positioning and posture when defending that grappling, especially against someone like Ankalaev. In the last fight, he was sort of just getting smothered. So he wants to sort of subvert that from happening. Again, he needs to, add a bit more technical proficiency to his defensive grappling.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Why wouldn't Ankalaev make it easy on himself and go to his strength? And the perceived weakness of Pereira is wrestling or defending wrestling takedown. So, yeah, maybe his coaches, Ankalaev's coaches, will say, no, stick to the game, stick to the game plan, and stick to your strengths as well. So, all right, prediction time, Diamond?
Yeah.
Odds?
Yeah, I'll give you the odds first. Ankalaev's favourite. And it's 9-4 on Ankalaev and 7-4 Pereira, so he's nearly 3-1. Which is
interesting.
It's a lot. I'm going for Ankalaev. I would like to think he would utilise his wrestling more and just win rounds. That's what I'd like to see. But again, like Josh was saying, I think it's a risky game to play fire with fire, just because obviously you did it the first fight. to a certain extent. I just think the clever move to do is just go to bread and butter in terms of wrestling, pick up points, pick up rounds, and win the fight. On to the next one.
Yeah, makes sense. Josh, what you saying? Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Pereira. I like him at those odds, nearly 2-1. So
okay.
I think I'm going with an upset. So I don't know. Obviously, logically, like Diamond was saying, if it's a case of Ankalaev just smothering him for a good few rounds, and it will fatigue Pereira out. But all it takes is one exchange.
Yeah, that's true.
With Thornton on the feet, and it's a different kettle of fish. There's no one in the UFC that can keep up with him on that level. So if that does happen in this fight, I think Ankalaev will come up short. But obviously, it's a case of whether or not he just dominates on the ground.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the odds or play the percentages and just say go for Ankalaev, a bit like Diamond, if he sticks to his game plan. There's always a chance someone like Pereira can knock him out one punch, but I'd go for Ankalaev if he plays to his strengths, fights to his strengths. So no, that's good. So that brings us to the end of the preview. Yeah, go on, Diamond.
Yeah, just before we go on, I just wanted to touch on the last UFC. Obviously, there was big hype over the fight between Duplessis and Khamzat. I mean, there was a lot of criticism and a lot of talk after the fight. I just wanted to know what your take on it was in terms of the way Khamzat won. Did that bother you, or a win's a win?
That's what I expected, really. That kind of style, sort of pressure, takedown heavy attempts, and sort of making Duplessis tired, a bit confused, and not knowing what to do. So I'm not one of these people that just wants to see knockouts. I do appreciate the other parts of the game as well. So no, it's what I expected, and I thought it was still a good, entertaining fight.
Josh, your take on the Duplessis versus Khamzat? Yeah.
It was just a wrestle fest. I mean, you got to appreciate the ability it takes to sort of dominate in the way that Chimaev did. But it was a bit boring to be honest. I was watching that fight live, and obviously in the UK it's early morning time, and I'll be honest, I went to sleep after round 2 because I just knew it'd be the same thing for 3-4 rounds, just sort of Duplessis coming up short and Chimaev just absolutely dominating on the ground, and he did that. Yeah. And it was a bit unexpected. I think people thought Duplessis would come in with a bit of holding his own, but didn't happen.
Yeah,
really did. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so this has been UFC 320, preview of UFC 320, sponsored by Hatton James Legal and produced by SRB Media, srbmedia.co.uk. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Diamond. Some good comments.
Nice one, G. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And
thank you, G. Pleasure as always.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast next month. Take care. Bye-bye.